everybody and welcome to my 24-hour readathon vlog for the Raedathon. So real quick, if you guys are unfamiliar with what Raedathon is, it is a 24-hour readathon that is hosted by Jade from Jade Ray Reads. They happen pretty frequently. There's no like set schedule to them. They're super chill. You just read as much as you can over the 24 hours of the readathon. There's no prompts or anything like that. So after my success with the Bookathon and how much I read, I'm feeling a little bit overconfident for this, and I haven't prepared. It's actually 14 minutes until midnight right now and I'm just starting this vlog. I haven't tried to get any sleep in because I wanted to finish the other book I was reading before midnight, so I'm not going to be staying up for the full 24 hours. My current plan is to sleep at around 4 AM and then sleep until 8 or 9 AM, and then I have an Instagram photo that I need to take in the morning. I'm going to make myself look a little bit more presentable because I'm going to be vlogging for the entire day. I'm trying to do 2 things in April. I want to be posting a photo on Instagram every day, and I'm also planning on working out every day. So because this is going to be a 24-hour readathon, I'm not getting a lot of sleep. I'm going to do probably some light yoga because I haven't done yoga for a couple of weeks, and with all of the spin I've been doing, I could do with stretching out my muscles, so I need to get a workout in, and then it's just reading up until midnight. I'm feeling pretty confident about the books I have on my TBR. I have 2, both of them are on my Bookopoly TBR. The first one is Isola Volume 2 by Brendan Fletcher and Carl Kerschel. This is the first book I'm going to be diving in with. I'm going to be finishing this before I go to sleep, and this is a comic book series about our main character whose queen has been turned into this blue glowy tiger creature, and because of that they have been tasked with taking the queen to the mythical land of Isola where they can hopefully have this curse reversed. So I'm going to be kicking off with this one at midnight. It shouldn't take me too long, and this one is also on my Bookopoly TBR to read a comic, and then after that I'm going to be starting You Love Me by Caroline Kepner, which arrived 2 days before publication day. I actually thought that this was out next Tuesday, but it arrived on Tuesday just gone, and I believe that the publication date was actually Thursday. I have no idea, but I've had it since Tuesday and I really wanted to start it, but I put it off. I'm so excited for this, and the past 2 books in this series have been so absorbing that I think that this is a book that I can just get sucked into for 24 hours. So this is on my Bookopoly TBR for other, which is to read a book outside of my normal genres, and this is an adult thriller. It's the 3rd book in the You series. So You is the book that the Netflix show is based on. The first book is told in 2nd person perspective, so you are literally in Joe's head and it's like you did this and you did that to make it like super creepy. But Joe works in a bookshop in New York City and he seems like a wonderful guy. He's like a generally like stand-up guy, pretty attentive boyfriend. He has morals, you know, he has beliefs, but a young woman walks into the bookstore where he works and he quickly begins to stalk her. Now I love this series because the thing about Joe is that I just find him so completely relatable, because the things that he thinks and like his justifications of what he's doing, a lot of the time you can relate to. However, the way that he goes about achieving the things that he wants and the way that he reacts to the things that he's thinking are just wild, because he goes out and he stalks a woman. So I really love that this series questions your morals because you're rooting for Joe, because you're in his mind, but he's doing terrible things. I have been waiting for this book for so long. I think You was my favorite book of 2019 and I read the 2nd book, Hidden Bodies, shortly after. I've since watched the show and I really enjoyed that as well. However, the way that the 2nd book left off left me incredibly intrigued for the 3rd book and which direction it was going to go, but the 2nd season of the show kind of hinted that season 3 was going to go in a certain direction, which is kind of like a little bit after where the 2nd book leaves off. So I'm guessing because this has been released just before season 3 that maybe the writers of the show have had access to the storyline and the plot of this, so they know where it's going, and that has me incredibly worried because the 2nd season of the show went in the opposite direction right at the end than I wanted it to go after reading the 2nd book. So we're going to see what happens, but this is 385 pages, so I definitely think that this is doable because of how into it I'm going to be. So these are the 2 books that I'm going to be reading over the 24 hours. If I do manage to finish You Love Me, I will be picking up something else. I have nothing in mind at the moment. Kind of at that point anything goes, but right now I just want to focus on on getting 2 books that are actually on my Bookopoly TBR over and done with. It is currently 7 minutes to midnight, so I'm gonna go and set up camp on the couch, and I'll be back to check in with you guys when I finished Isola Volume 2.
I'm not so sure that I can stay high above these clouds with you. I'm not sure where I'm going to, but I have to leave. I can't be tied up in these city lights. I must be free to roam the earth. I know that you might miss me, but all these winding roads are taking me to where I'm feeling I must go. I know.
So we are 50 minutes into Raedathon, and I have finished Isola Volume 2. I've got 12 minutes left on my timer. I'm doing, is it Pomodoro sprints at the minute? I don't think Jade's doing any right now. I think she's doing one at 3 a.m. on Instagram and some at midday tomorrow on YouTube. So when we were doing Bookopoly-thon, I was watching Aaron's sprints from Booked and Busy, and she does Pomodoro. I think it's Pomodoro. I'm just gonna check. Yeah, it's the Pomodoro Technique. So you sprint or like set a timer for 25 minutes and then rest for 5 minutes and then continue for another 25 minutes, and when you've done 4 sets of 25 minutes you take a 25-minute break, and that is supposed to maximize your productivity. And during Aaron's sprints I read so much, and because Jade isn't doing sprints at the minute, I thought I may as well do Pomodoro sprints, because I've spoken before about how I used to read in terms of like, oh, I'll read 50 pages then take a break, then I'll read 50 pages, but when I do that I tend to procrastinate a lot in between my 50-page sections. So I thought I would try out the Pomodoro stuff tonight. I mean, I'm only reading a comic, so I don't feel like that's a good indication, because I mean it's pretty quick to read anyway. So we'll see how it goes when I start You Love Me, but I will tell you a little bit about this in just a minute, because I finished the last book I was reading just before Raedathon starts. I only sorted out my rating for it. I haven't been through my spreadsheet or Goodreads or anything. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break now, sort out my spreadsheet, update Goodreads, get you a rating on Isola, and then I have a couple of things that I want to jot down in my planner, a couple of things I need to sort out, like my yearly tracker things, because we've just started a new month and I'm behind on a couple of bits that I need to note down in there. So yeah, once I have a rating for Isola, I'll come tell you my thoughts on this, and I'm just gonna chill out with my ASMR room and do some admin bits for a little while, take a short break. Okay, so I am done with all of the stuff that I was doing. It's now 1:30 a.m. and I gave Isola Volume 2 3 stars. As soon as I started it, I remembered why I was kind of like so about the first one, and it is literally nothing to do with the comic, I don't think anyway. It's just my brain. So I've talked about this before, but not for a while. I like art in terms of it being pretty to look at, but whenever we go on holiday or something, like we went to Rome a couple of years ago, we've been to Paris, and we always tend to go to at least one art gallery, because that's what you do when you go to like a capital city in a European country. But my brain just doesn't understand art. Like, I can understand it in terms of it being pretty to look at, but I don't understand things like hidden meanings and stuff, and how some people can look at a painting and be like, oh, this makes me feel really sad, because my brain just does not do well with images. Like, I can't follow a diagram to save my life. I need written instructions. Diagrams are really fucking hard for me. And Isola, the art in here is absolutely stunning. Like, I love it. I can appreciate art in terms of it being beautiful. I can even appreciate color and like the colors that are used and how that creates mood and stuff, and like contrast and things like that. But Isola is mainly art based. There's a lot more art than there is text. There's like full pages that are just frames with no text on them, and because of that I get really confused really quickly, because my brain isn't like processing what's happening. And they use things like color in here to represent whether what is going on is like a dream or a vision, or whether it's reality, and it just goes right over my head because I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Completely a me thing. But this comic series always leaves me with more questions than answers, which could could once again be because I can't process art very well, but yeah, it's literally pretty much just the journey that this captain of the guard is taking with her queen to get her to Isola, and the people that they meet and the places they pass through along the way. I will say that this had like a cohesive story within the second volume, and I did really enjoy especially a specific part of that towards the middle and what was going on there with like a new character that was part of this story arc. So I did really enjoy that. I am interested in continuing. I do feel I will probably buy these as they're released and read them as they're released, but maybe whenever the last volume's published, I may go through and like read it all as one, because with it just being, at least so far, this journey to Isola, I think it may be something that would be really good to just read pretty much in a solid block instead of it being broken up, because I think it was over a year in between like the last 2 volumes. There is also LGBT rep in here as well, which I enjoyed. I really enjoyed actually. I'm excited to see how some of those things develop in the later volumes. So yeah, 3 stars for that one. First book down. It is a little past 1:30 now, and I am about to start You Love Me. Now I know I said I was staying up till 4 AM, but honestly I've been flying since 9 PM, and as soon as I started reading Isola, I was just tired. I'm readjusting my goals a little bit already. This book is 380 pages long. I wanted to read at least 100 pages before I go to sleep, but I think I'm going to adjust it to 80 pages being my aim. So that's like my long-term goal. I think I'm gonna go to bed as soon as I start to feel really tired again, because when I start to feel really tired, I'm not as focused. It makes it more difficult to read. It takes me longer to read, and at that point, like, I could walk around and wake myself up, but I obviously need sleep, and it's not gonna get any better until I actually get some sleep. So it's just a waste of time, me like staying awake, losing focus, waking myself up, when I could just go to sleep, wake up in the morning and be in a much better headspace and be able to read a lot better. So yeah, I'll check in with you guys before I go to bed, but I'm going to try to get to page 80 and we'll see how it goes.
I must confess that I don't ever think I'll find my home. I must just be a wandering soul at sea. I'm not sure if I'll ever come back home to Calgary. Oh, no.
So it is 2:45 AM. And that is going to be me tapping out for the night. I made a start on this. I did almost two 25-minute, do I want to say sprints? Yeah, 2 25-minute sprints. I can sprint alone, that's perfectly acceptable. And I made it to page 36 of this. So from what I can tell from the start of this so far is that, like with the TV show, it is going in a different direction than the direction that I wanted it to go, which is sad. Obviously it's only like, it's kind of like the epilogue of the TV show, like the second season. From what was shown in that like 2-minute clip, this book is going in a different direction than the TV show is going in, which will be interesting because I do like seeing the differences and what they've kept the same for the show when they're basing it on the books. But it will also obviously be more entertaining for me if they're going in a different direction, because I won't have read it before. It's also interesting as well how, like I said at the beginning of this, that Joe's like really relatable and you like him and you like being in his head. I feel like he gets creepier with every book, which is interesting to see. And I never really say anything about the second book, and I'm not really gonna say anything about the third book because like the plot obviously develops throughout book 1, and then book 2 is very different, and book 3 is now very different again. But with it being a thriller, like I can't really say anything without giving away just like certain elements, and that's kind of like how as vague or as specific I guess I can be. But from like the setup of this, like the different instance that we're in book 3, I don't think it's gonna be my favorite of the series just because of like the scenario. Book 1 was my favorite book of 2019, and I really loved it because, was it 2019 or 2018? I don't remember. I think I read both of them in 2019 actually, and on my best books of the year list I only put 1 book from a series on the list because otherwise it's it's just kind of like repeating myself over and over again. But book one I really liked because of how kind of new it was and like getting real into it, you know, and realizing what kind of character Joe is and seeing everything unfold. Book two has one of my favorite characters from the series so far. This scenario and some of the characters in this one aren't doing it for me in the same way that the first two books did, but I'm here for it and I'm very intrigued in how it's going to develop because I'm very much in the initial stages of this book right now. I know that I just have all of the drama to come. I'm really excited. So I'm gonna get some sleep. I'm hoping to get up sometime between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. Randomly, I've been waking up at about 7 a.m. actually, and I'm an idiot because I keep going back to sleep and thinking like, oh, well, my alarm goes off at 8. I don't want to be awake at 7. I'll get up when my alarm goes off, or like I'll get up at 9. Any time before like 9:30 a.m. is my ideal time to wake up. So like between 8 and 9 or like around 9 a.m. But anything after that and I get annoyed at myself at sleeping in. So I keep waking up at 7, going back to sleep, thinking, oh, I'll sleep for a couple of hours or I'll sleep for an hour more or whatever, and then waking up at 11, which isn't ideal. So I've told Curtis, like Curtis knows that I'm doing Raedathon, and I've told him to wake me up when he gets up, because strangely he's been getting up at like 8, 9 a.m. and he's normally the one who's in bed until 11 while I'm up really early and starting work. Speaking of dumb bitch things that I keep doing, I was sat here earlier and I was like, oh, it's so cozy, like I'm so toasty and warm, it's raining outside and I really love the sound of the rain. I was sat here for like a good hour and a half before I got up to go to the kitchen and make myself a drink and realized that it isn't actually raining. I'm listening to a fucking ambience room with rainfall in it, and I legit thought it was raining. So at least the ambience room is doing its job, and I will actually put a link to that in the description box as well because it is my favorite one if you guys are interested. But on that note, I'm gonna shut the fuck up and I'm gonna go get some sleep because I'm really excited to get into my bed.
It's unreal the way these mountains turn to dust, the way each moment turns to unsaving adjustments for the trust between ourselves. Each agreement is a bind, each goodbye takes us beyond this quiet forest. But now I know that you might miss me, but all these winding paths are taking me to where.
To be fair, everyone warned me, Becca warned me, she gave it 2 stars. I should have known this, but you know what, my intrigue, it's a 10.
Hey, so I haven't checked in with you guys today at all. Jade asked me to do the sprints that she was doing at midday. So I've been there, I've just dipped out before the last sprint. It's currently 5:30 p.m. and I'm in the middle of cooking dinner, but I'm starting to get a little bit concerned now because I'm literally just bang on halfway through this. So I'm on page 191 and I have 192 pages left to go and I've got 6.5 hours, but I'm gonna finish making my dinner. I'm gonna watch an episode of The Last Kingdom, take a little bit of a break before I dive back in, and then by that time we're probably gonna have about 5 hours for me to do this. So how many pages is that an hour? Let's call it 200 pages divided by 5, 40 pages an hour. Come on, surely I can do that. Surely I can do that. That should be pretty easy. I am really enjoying it though, because in every one of these books, like I've said about how Joe is relatable and stuff and how you kind of end up empathizing with him a lot, and in each one of the books in this series you get to a point where like it's just a spiral of things going wrong, whether they're going wrong because of him and his actions or whether some outside force has kind of ruined all of the plans that he's got, and it's just a string of one thing after another just continuously fucking up. And I'm currently like right in the middle of all of that stuff happening, so my reading pace is now picking up now that the pace in the plot is picking up. I have no idea because I don't read a lot of thrillers as well, and because this is like not your typical kind of thriller. Like I would say that a usual thriller or a typical thing to happen in a crime or thriller novel is that the bad guy gets caught or whatever, or you know, it comes to an end. But because this is a series and because you're in the mind of the villain essentially, it never really comes to an end. It's more of like a, how is this character gonna get out of this situation yet again? So I'm excited to see how that's gonna play out.
Might miss this place that I call home. I must just be a wandering soul at sea. I'm not so sure that I'll ever come back home. to Calgary. Oh, no, no.
It is 9:53. We have 2 hours and 7 minutes to go. I've just taken a little bit of a break, but I am on page 293. So I think I have exactly 90 pages to go and 2 hours to read that in. I've just took a little bit of an extended break. I have still been doing Pomodoro sprints. I've also been extending them a little bit as well when I need to finish a chapter. I have a bowl of berries. We have raspberries, strawberries, blueberries and chocolate mousse in here to keep me going for a little while longer. And I also cracked open a beer because I bought a crate of beer for bank holiday weekend because that's what we do in England. Thinking that the weather would be warm because I was feeling real optimistic on like Tuesday, Wednesday when it was really hot, and it's not too hot now. So I crack open a Saturday night beer and I'm gonna go read my book because Hamilton is trying to figure out how to pilfer my strawberries. It is 11:54 p.m. and I just finished You Love Me by Caroline Kepner. So yeah, I've been reading pretty solidly. I've been doing Pomodoro sprints. So I've had one long 25-minute break that wasn't even 25 minutes because I knew I'd be pushed to finish. And I've been taking my 5-minute breaks. But aside from that, I have been reading pretty solidly. So I'm gonna take 10 minutes to recalibrate because my eyes feel like they're gonna crawl out of my skull, and then I will come back and give you a rating on this and my thoughts. So I took 25 minutes, tidied up after myself, pretty much got everything ready for bed. The last thing I need to do before I go to bed is wrap up this vlog and vigorously beat the arse dent out of the cushion on the sofa that I've been sat on all day. I did work out and everything this morning. I took and posted my Instagram photo, etc. But aside from that, I haven't really moved all day. You Love Me by Caroline Kepner. I gave this one 4 stars, which is the lowest rated in the You series so far from me. But I did still really enjoy this. The other 2 I did definitely think were better. The main reason for that is just that the plot in this one got a little bit ridiculous in places. Like a lot of it throughout the middle I was like, why is this happening? Like, we don't need any more drama added into this plot. I will say that this book felt kind of repetitive in terms of like repeating some of the things that had happened in the earlier books. However, Caroline Kepner did put a new twist on those that I wasn't expecting, and the happenings in this book definitely took a different turn to the first 2 books. I enjoyed it less because of the ridiculousness of the plot throughout the middle, and then at the end there was kind of like something going on and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. And I thought that was going to lead into the next book, but then that ended up wrapping up and then the book came to like a different conclusion. I can't lie, I'm always down for more of Joe's shenanigans. Like, this is borderline entertaining to me now. Like, I laughed out loud at a few instances because like Joe obviously is not a good guy, but you're in his head, you followed him for so long as all of these things have happened to him. A lot of the things he has caused for himself. He doesn't go about things the best way. He is a stalker and he definitely brings upon his own downfall in a lot of ways, but then a lot of times things will just happen to him and you're like, oh god, this guy just cannot catch a break. I can't remember how many books Caroline Kepner said is going to be in this series. I did look it up when I read Hidden Bodies because at first I thought that You was a standalone, then I found out it had a sequel, so I thought it was a duology. But I think there's going to be at least 4 books. I can't remember if she said that there's going to be more than that. But however many books she writes in this series, I am definitely down to read them. Just because as well as it being kind of shocking, very messy, very kind of, is controversial the right word? I wouldn't say it's controversial because books don't have to tell you how to feel, you know? Like, you can form your own opinions. Like, I can still like Joe, but also not condone the fact that he is a stalker. Like, that's something that I am able to do and separate like fiction from real life. So I don't know if I would say it was controversial, but I definitely like the dynamic that that creates and how like you can have many different reactions to Joe, you know. You can hate this book, you can think that he's a total creep and can't believe that somebody wrote a book like this in a certain light, or you can kind of just get on board with what this book is about and fully empathize with Joe and laugh like I did and also cringe like I did. I also didn't like the supporting characters as much in this book as I have in the previous installments, and the setting as well, which I think could be one of the reasons why I gave this 4 stars instead of 5. But yeah, glad I read it. I was panicking. You guys know I was panicking halfway through today when I thought that I wasn't going to get it done in time, and I pulled through with 6 minutes to spare. So that brings my Raedathon to an end. I've read 2 books in one day. Both of these are on my Bookopoly TBR, and now my rest of the month is looking significantly easier because I knocked out these 2 in one day, which I'm real happy about. Before I forget as well, this is a thriller, so it does come generally, like, thrillers have a lot of trigger warnings. The most dominant ones I can think of in this particular instance is suicide and substance abuse. But if you are going into this, or any thriller, I would say try to find a definitive list of all of the trigger warnings, because thrillers just tend to be inherently full of triggers. But my total page count for Raedathon is 529 pages, and I've seen on Twitter that people have read like well over 1,000 pages today, but honestly I'm happy with my 529 pages because while it's not as much as some people have read, I never read a full book in a day. This was obviously going to get done, like it took me 40-50 minutes. This was a push, but I made it through, and I did sleep for, how long did I sleep? Like 6 hours as well. So I read 2 books and got in a 6-hour sleep, did 5.5 hours of sprints. Very pleased with my progress. Thank you to the lovely Jade, of course, from January Reads, as always, for hosting the Raedathon. It's the only 24-hour readathon that I really try and take part in because I can't do too many, you know. So Jade's are the ones that I always go for. Had a great time as usual, and I think, is this my most successful Raedathon to date? There was one when I stayed up for the entire 24 hours, but I can't remember how well I did because I know that I got incredibly grumpy halfway through because I was sleep deprived. But yeah, that brings me to the end of this 24-hour Raedathon vlog. My normal weekly vlog will be the next video that follows this one, that will fill in the rest of the week that has passed and the one day in this week that I have ahead of me, so you have that to look forward to catch up on what I read in the rest of the week for the beginning of April. That's all I got for you, so I do hope you have enjoyed this vlog if you've made it this far. If you have, please don't forget to like if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.